Hey there, I'm Chinmay, and I wanted to talk to you about how this world prepares you to lose, for you to become a worker. So, in this world, from the second that you are born, and the second and the time till you die, you're programmed to be a worker. You're programmed to be a money making machine for someone else who works in someone else's dreams. And you won't even notice it that you're working for someone else's dreams all your life. And then at the end, when you're 80 years old, you find out that you have been living a lie. They have sold you a dream to fulfill someone else's dream. What is your dream? Your dream is to get a good job and earn a lot of money and retire. But when you're getting a good job, what you're really doing is working in someone else's company. You're working in something that represents someone else's dreams, someone else's machine that they use to make money. An average employee makes his employer 10 times his salary. Sometimes it's even 20 to 30 times in developing countries uh, where these companies, the multinationals, they exploit the workers because of the wage differences. So yeah, you make 10x your salary to the employer. Imagine that. If someone actually found out, if most people figure out in this world that they're making their employer 10 times their salary, I doubt anyone would work for them. I doubt anyone would still work a job. So what I'm saying in essence is, to make someone work for you uh, for 1/10 of their output. I mean, they're producing 10 units, but they get only one back. To get them to that point, to make them work for you with that condition, it takes a lot of conditioning, it takes a lot of manipulation, it takes a lot of societal pressure and a system that consistently molds people to work for you at 1/10 of their output and be happy doing it. So before the slaves, they were slaves, right? They worked for free. They essentially made 100% of their output, and the owner had all their output. The only expense of the owners was feeding them just enough so they don't die, of course, and housing them in like small shelters so they don't die in the winters or in the scorching heat, because obviously a dead slave is not something that is producing, right? So yeah, that was minimal. Then we got to factory, the industrial revolution. Even then there were very low wages, right? There were very low wages, and people worked in similar conditions you see now in developing countries. They worked in factories all day, almost like, I think so, 10-hour shifts, I think, 10 to 15-hour shifts. Even kids work there. That was in Britain, by the way. So that's basically the situation of Chinese sweatshops right now. So it has ended in the developed countries. Now it has switched to the other form of slavery, which is the slavery of the mind. Most of the money in this world is now made by mind, right? uh, you see all the highest paying professions nowadays, you you re- you mostly require mental work to actually make money now. You take the example of software engineering, you take the example of investment banking, you take pretty much any finance job, anything that's paying in high value. It takes the work of the mind, right? So you have to enslave them from the mind. You If you even enslave someone physically, they don't make much value, because yeah, of course they can't produce as much. So you have to make them happy. You have to make them comfortable to be living as a slave. So what do? The second they are born, you enroll them into a school system, not an ordinary school system, where there's education on multiple aspects of life, relationships, you know, social skills, practical skills, business skills, entrepreneurship. There's education on that. You enroll them in a school where they don't learn any of that. Hell, they're even discouraged from learning that, right? So you see frequently in many schools, uh, when some kid makes a business out of selling something, something trivial, like cookies or snacks, or let's say collector cards. If they catch you selling this stuff, even if it's not drugs or anything crazy like that, right, that's obviously illegal. If they even catch you doing that, they will shut your business down. Why do you think they're shutting down businesses that are not selling anything illegal, right? That is because they don't want an entrepreneurship spirit, right? I said this in my previous talks. John D. Rockefeller, he's the one who designed the school system, which is mostly used all around the world. Even Finland, I mean, some aspects of it. No country currently has a school system that is designed to build leaders by default instead of, employees. Because it's simply not in the national interest to have people who are only willing to start their own business. If everyone starts their own business, who will work in those businesses? That's the issue. So there's no education system in the world that will not encourage you to become an employee rather than a businessman, right? So people have been conditioned in a way to think in a very 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 limited span. Even in nowadays, people are said that people are told and conditioned that $100,000 is a lot of money, right? $100,000 is a lot of money. You would be lucky if you earned that. You have to go to the college, you have to be qualified, and only then, and only then, you can earn a measly $100,000 per year. $100,000 per year, even if you earn that in USA, in a good city like I would say Los Angeles, San Francisco, you know, they're not doing good. $100,000, even at 200,000, you get a decent, an okayish lifestyle at 200,000. And you're talking about 100,000 being a good amount. You're talking about 100,000. You're supposed to be qualified for $100,000, while there's people doing millions in deals, casually millions. There's bankers that will laugh at you if you bring a deal less than $10 million in size. And you're telling me that $100,000 is a lot of money, and you're supposed to work 4 years, plus 2 years in college, plus 10 years, 12 plus years of schooling, then 4 years in college, plus you would load someone with $100,000 plus in debt before they are even starting to earn their money, which this debt is, by the way, unforgivable. Even if you die, they will strip you of your assets just to pay that loan. It's not forgivable, okay? So it's that kind of loan. And you're saying that you need all that to earn $100,000? What is this joke? So this is how they program you. In the school, they will program you to not talk, to not speak. Why they don't want you to speak? If someone speaks, if someone learns social skills, you know, it will be way harder for the rich to control the masses. If the people speak, if the people have the ability to speak well, to make a place for themselves in this world, to command respect, if they have the ability, all of them have the ability, then how will the rich control the people, the masses, right? That is the very ideology behind the school system. Discipline, the discipline taught in school, it's not real discipline. Discipline is sticking with a task. no matter how difficult it is. That's the real definition of discipline. Discipline is not wearing, uh, you know showing up to school every day, getting good grades. you know it's not discipline. Okay, it's whatever. Discipline is not staying quiet in the class, talking to no one, just gone. You're not speaking in the class, not talking to people, not interacting with people, not trying out new things, not exploring new places. It's not called discipline. It's called shelteredness, right? You have been domesticated like a dog, right? How do you domesticate dog? You give them treats when they do what you want. And how do they domesticate you? They give you some treats when you do what they want, right? Uh, if you refuse to go to college, what will most likely happen? Society will pressure you to go to college. Uh, Nowadays, the degree inflation has become so big that, like many people in, in entry level positions, no one even needs a college degree. They're asking for college degree. Why is that so? Because there's an oversupply of college degrees. Everyone has a college degree, right? Why does it matter? You get a college degree, you get a college degree, he gets a college degree, she gets a college degree, everyone gets a college degree, and a load of debt. There's an oversupply. There's a concept called supply and demand in economics, right? When there's an excess of demand but there's less supply, the value of that thing rises. And where there's equal supply and equal demand, the value of that thing is at a fair price. It's called equilibrium of price, right? And what we see currently is excess supply and not enough demand. Or even demand. Let's even talk about the demand side. Why most jobs really do not need any college degrees. College degrees are just proof that you can go through employee like conditioning. You can work your ass off, right? That's the only proof. Okay, so if someone without a college degree, they can still get that same job. It's just that the college degree is a, what do we say, it's a convenient measure of someone's ability to be an employee, right? So first of all, you're pushed into school right at the start when you should be exploring things by your own, right? And then there's enforced social norms in developing countries. In the non-Western countries, I would say Europe, hell, even Europe too nowadays, and India, Asia, all these places, they want you to wear school uniforms. Why do you think they want you to wear school uniforms? There's a reason for that, okay? They want you to wear school uniforms so you lose a sense of individuality, the sense of uniqueness, right? If someone is unique, they wear a different type of t-shirt, they wear a different type of, let's say, they have a different dressing style, right? So how would you discourage uniqueness? How would you discourage personal identity, personal individuality? The one thing I appreciate about USA is that they, at least on the lower level, they do not suppress the will of the individual. They let you get the haircuts you want. They let you style yourself as you want. You can mostly do what you wish to. It has a different freedom. But anyways, getting back to the topic. So they make you wear school uniforms. They make you have haircuts. You cannot have hair the length more than this. If they do like this, you have to cut your hair, right? You have to cut your hair. Why do you think so? This is to suppress the sense of individuality. Once the sense of individuality is suppressed, people will do everything for the powerful. Their interests are now subordinated. Okay? Your interests can be subordinated. You want to earn $1 million. You want to earn a good life. You want to work hard and get the results for it. But guess what? They have trained you to be happy in just 1/10 of your output. You're making your employer $1 million a year. You are you're supposed to be happy with just 100,000. And the guy who owns you, who is paying you, he he probably did not perform well in that system. Most people who do not perform well in school, I'm not saying those people who, they just mess around, doing drugs and shit. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about those people who have entrepreneurial ventures on the side, or people like Mark Zuckerberg. They were in Harvard, but they were building a system. They were building Facebook, which turned out to be a multi-billion-dollar company, right? They were not bad at studies, but later on they realized that school is simply not for them, right? So when you do this, when you condition people to believe to be happy in very small amounts of money, people are thinking that you can only make $1 million, $2 million, $5 million if you push it way too far with a job. They think that their earning potential is only $5 million max in their entire lifetime. $5 million. You think how small that is? When you walk into a bank in UAE doing mergers and acquisitions, banks will literally tell you that if you bring a deal less than $10 million in size, they will reject you. They will not give you the loan. $10 million, they will not give you the loan. And here you're taught that $5 million is all you can make in your entire lifetime. You can do a couple of deals and you're making $1 million, $2 million. You're making basically someone's life earnings in basically 5 years, right? But if everyone found about this, they found out that mergers and acquisitions, starting a business is the way to go. Yes, it's true that many people nowadays, they have kind of been knowing that business is the way to go, but they have been taught the wrong way. They have been taught about drop shipping. Well, drop shipping is now overcrowded. Everyone can enter drop shipping. There's no barrier to entry. Zero barriers. Literally anyone. They just have to have an internet connection. That's it. They can enter drop shipping. Or people are nowadays taught that you should rely on the power of compounding to become rich. Okay, sure, very good. Power of compounding, even at $100,000, which is a lot of money, by the way, according to the school system. You save 20,000, let's say. That's even a very optimistic figure. If you save $20,000, you put it in a compound interest calculator. You invest it in the stock market, and let's say it makes 10% per year compounded. Assuming someone like Trump does not come into the office and destroys the economy, then you make 10 to 15% per year, max, like pushing it to the top potential, 15%, right? We are counting for the booms and busts, 15%, 10%, 12%, right? You make these figures, but you have been investing 20,000. You make about, I think, 4 million. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I have not done the math, but I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that at $10,000, if you invest it in compounding, you make about 1 or 2 million. So if you double that, that's about 4 million. But correct me if I'm wrong. So anyways, so $4 million, $5 million, or 6 million if you're pushing it, I guess. So $6 million, right? That's not a lot of money. And then by the time you'll have $6 million, by then a Prius will cost you $100,000. What then? Inflation will eat your returns like nothing, right? You say you're earning 10% compounding interest, right? Well, guess what? Inflation is also compounding. Inflation is 2%, 3%, 4% even, right? 4% inflation, 4%. And once the price goes up, it does not go down. It goes up further from the figure that it was up. You know, $100, suppose something costs $100, inflation makes it rise to 104. Next year, the inflation is gonna be on 4% on the 104. So isn't that compounding interest? Think about that. 4% compounding interest, and you're making 10% compounding interest. Minus 4%, your real rate of return is more like 6%. You think you can become rich in 6%? No. 6% is nothing a rate to become rich. The rich access the rates of 15%, 20%. How can you compete with them? Right? Compounding only works when you have a big sum of money to spend, to invest. How do you get the big sum of money? By business, by earning. Thank you.